Good morning, everybody. Come in, take your seats. Oh, you've done that already. Okay, good start. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. Oh, you should have seen yourself. That was really cool. Everybody did it all together. But we're not going to do any more than that, so don't get excited about it. Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Columbia. Our minister is the Reverend Stephen Robinson. My name is Richard McLeod, and I am your service leader of the day. Let me mention that Reverend Robinson is usually in the pulpit here for our services, but when he's not, we do present a variety of guest speakers from the wider community, so you don't want to miss a Sunday at all. To those of you who are in the sanctuary, please be advised that this service is being streamed on YouTube, and there's also a link to a Zoom event if you want to get involved in that. Just look at the daily events that are mailed out to you on Thursday, and that will give you the instructions. Now, to those of you who are joining us in cyberspace, we're glad to have you with us, but we still would rather have you here in person. Please make sure to read the announcements in your printed order of service, as well as what you find on the website and the weekly events that are mailed to you every Thursday. I even urge you to keep your website open with a tab open to our website so you can keep up with what's happening. Matthew had an announcement. Matthew, where are you? Matthew. Matthew has a brief announcement. Just use them. David's exercise.
Hey, I've just been elected as a new members coordinator for our CUPS chapter. So if you have any questions about what we do, or if you're interested in any pagan spiritual paths, come get with me, or just join us every Thursday in the library at 7. We'd love to have you. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. Now, here's an announcement for parents, parents of the children who will be the future of our congregation. If you need special assistance with caring for or entertaining your children, you will find somebody in the back of the social hall willing to help. Now, a little later in the service today, I don't see a lot of children, but anyhow, later in the service today, we will have a story for all ages where they will come down front, after which they will be dismissed for our organized classes. If you have further questions, you can ask Jonathan or Bethany. Jonathan, Bethany, anybody?
Or me.
Or Nancy. Okay, you'll find them, they're around. We'd like to thank the Buildings and Grounds Committee for the lovely planter that decorates our pulpit today. If you would like to provide flowers on a Sunday, just look at the events that come out to you on Thursday. There are instructions about how to do that. So you're welcome on a special occasion to provide flowers, and we'll give you a little notice in our announcement here. And now, please silence all your electronic devices as we center ourselves for the day's service and we listen to the prelude.
In the spirit of today's service, nurturing possibility and creativity, all of the music invites your participation. So this first piece, the prelude that we'll create together, I'm calling May Improvisation. If you can imagine the nature around us outside in May, the sound of the wind and the water and the rain that we may hear. There are some rain sticks around you, if we could hear those. If you don't have one, can I suggest you can get a nice sound that can grow and recede by rubbing your hands like this. Or using your breath. if you'd like to sing, if you can find if you'd like to sing however you may feel moved.
Well, thank you, Anna. That was quite a meditative and sensory experience, like that. Please stand and join me in the congregational affirmation as is found in your printed order of service. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve others in community. Thus do we covenant with one another. Thank you. Please be seated. Unitarian Universalism is a diverse and non-creedal religion. We call ourselves a covenantal religion, which means that we don't have to believe the same in order to treat each other the same, with respect, equity, compassion, and dignity. Our community is based on deeds, not creeds. As Unitarian Universalists, we side with love, embracing all people regardless of age, color, race, socioeconomic status, physical ability, or religious background. We have been officially designated by the Unitarian Universalist Association as a welcoming congregation that welcomes LGBTQ+ individuals. We especially welcome families and young children. Now I want to recognize those who do the work of this congregation. Board members, please stand. And you'll notice that the board members wear green name tags and they always welcome your comments. So additionally now, I want the committee chairs to stand and join the board members so you can see who completes this work here in this congregation. Committee chairs. Thank you. At this time, we'd like to recognize any guests or visitors who are with us today. So visitors, If you don't mind being seen, and if you're willing and able, please rise and share with us your name, where you're from, and if you have guests with you, introduce them too. But please wait for the microphone. Stephen's going to bring it around.
Good morning. My name is Rachel Taylor.
Good morning. My name is Ripley Taylor. Good morning. My name is Jamie.
Welcome.
I'm Nancy's sister. I think you've all seen me before. I'll let Nancy do the other introductions, or actually, my brother John.
I'm John.
We're in for my son's graduation from yesterday, and so John's visiting from Colorado. We're most pleased to have him, and certainly Sandra up in Greenville. We miss seeing her, but you see her from time to time.
And we're also here
Welcome.
because my dad's hitting 90 next week. So actually, on Wednesday, he's going to be 90, and we're going to Columbus, Ohio. So yay Bill Shillington.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Stephen. So, welcome. Now, also, visitors, now you don't have to, but we'd love to have you fill out a visitor card, which there should be one in a chair back in front of you. Now, that way we can send you newsletters and emails. We promise that we will respect your privacy, so don't worry about that. We do encourage everybody to wear name tags so we can get to know you better. So at this moment, let's take just a couple minutes to greet each other. So stand up, give everybody around you a big smile, give them a fist bump, give them a handshake, whatever you'd like. Make everybody feel welcome.
Don't think my brother, John. Hi there. Oh my gosh, you look so old. Oh no, but you know what I mean. So good to see you. Welcome, Giselle.
Giselle, this is Danielle's friend.
And Mercedes.
Yeah, we sat next to her initially. Hey there.
What grade are you graduating from now? Oh, I'm going into 9th grade, so 8th grade right now. Awesome. And still playing soccer?
Yes. Congratulations.
Thank you. I think this shirt needs to be put away for the season. The buttons keep popping open.
Oh, wow, you look fantastic. You look so fit already.
So fit.
Like I was all bloaty and doughy, and you look very fit. Like you still look like you're still wearing normal pants.
These are a little extra stretchy, but
They look good. You look fantastic.
yeah.
We are.
So I guess you know I have a little one coming this summer.
Yes, we're excited. Okay, yeah, good to see you.
Okay. Okay. Testing, 1, 2. Is this mic on? Mic must not be on. Nobody's. I know this is the fun part of the service, isn't it? Karen just said, Karen, wherever you went. Anyhow, as I was coming back up here, Karen stopped me and she said, we should just let this be the service. She said, we're good at this, greeting each other. Time for our chalice lighting. The lighting of a chalice in a Unitarian Universalist gathering symbolizes the attention and dedication to the spiritual renewal that we take in this place and on this day. Spirit of light and life, come unto us.
This morning, I invite you to stay comfortably seated for the opening hymn. It is hymn 1009 in the Teal Hymnal, but it's not really necessary to look at it unless you choose to. It's a very simple 3-part song. The words are breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe in love. And we're going to start with the drone that sounds like this. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. As you hear the other parts layering in, you can choose to move to a different part or stay on this drone. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe.
Our opening words today come from Sean Parker Dennison, entitled To Invoke Love. To invoke love is to ask for a hug from a thunderstorm, to spill tea in the lap of the infinite trickster, to make the biggest, most embarrassing mistake of your life in front of everyone who matters. To invoke love is to never know if it will come softly with the nuzzle of a beloved dog or pounce on your chest with the strength of a lioness, protecting her cub, her pride, her homeland. To invoke love is to take the risk of inviting chaos to visit the spaces you spent so much time making tidy, and watch as the breath of life scatters away everything you have only just folded and put away. To invoke love is to allow for the possibility that your words and actions might become so empowered you can no longer believe in apathy or the self-righteous idea that nothing can change. To invoke love is to give up self-deprecation, false humility, pride, to consider yourself worthy to be made whole, willing to encounter love that will never let us let each other go. To invoke love is to guard against assumptions, take care with our words, and practice forgiveness, not as an ethereal ideal, but right here in the messy midst of our imperfect lives. To invoke love is to approach each day and every person with wonder, anticipating love's arrival. Is this the moment? Is this love's great entrance? Is this the person, the embodiment of love? Am I the embodiment of love? To invoke love is to play the fool, the one more concerned with loving than with appearance of reputation, the one ready and willing to be vulnerable, abandoning anything that gets in love's way. To invoke love is to be ready to become love, here, now, in everything we do. Are you ready? I invite those who would like to come down, children, youth, to come down for our story for all ages. Good morning. How are you all? I like that you're looking at the congregation. That means I can put my back to them. All right. So this is our story. Sometimes we call it our story for all ages, sometimes our moment for all ages, where I might read a story to you, but today we're going to do something a little bit different. That means you have to help with the story. It's not a story that's written yet, and we're going to play one of my favorite games. My kids call it the fairy tale game, and believe it or not, some of them are even in college and still love to play this game. So the way it works is, we won't go through all the cards, just because, we would be here a while. But it's basically, the way it works is, you pick a card, whatever card comes next, and you have to tell us something about what you see on the card and tell us something about the story. And in doing so, we get to make a story together, all right? So I'm going to give you a chance. How about 2 cards apiece? Think we can do that? All right. So let me see. We don't want the end card. We'll save that for the beginning. Oh. All right. So I'm mixing them up really good, shuffling them like a. Oh. You want that one? Hey, you can have that one, and then you can be also the end person. All right. So get one more card. You don't want to be. You can just do that. Someone else can say the end. It's a game. We make it up as we go. All right. I'm going to put the mic down for a second. Let you pick 2 cards. Any 2 cards. Thanks, Nancy. Oh, you got to get one more? You getting that one?
Oh, they're double-sided.
Oh, yeah, you get choices. You can pick from which side you want to do. All right. So we make this story up as we go. Nancy, don't you need some cards too?
Oh, sure.
All right. You pick a couple.
Oh, boy.
All right. And I'm going to pick 2. Oh, those are some of my favorite. All right. So we're going to make the story up as we go. Nothing is correct answer. Nothing is wrong answer. It's your imagination. So let's make it up as we go. Who wants to start? And then we'll go around in a circle. All right. Get our story started off right. You ready?
Once upon a time, there was a bridge that crossed over a magical river.
All right. And put your card down, and we'll kind of make a little storyline together. All right, Nancy, you're up.
And on that bridge, there was this magnificently large green animal with fiery red eyes, and he breathed fire. It was a dragon, but that dragon was in love with someone on the other side, his partner. He wanted to get together with his partner. His name is Amorous.
Amorous. Nice. Nancy's good at this. You want to borrow these? Wait, I got to go. Let's see. So, what the dragon did, since the dragon had trouble flying, he found his friend the magic carpet and said, I will ride the magic carpet to find my true love. All right, your turn. What do you want to say about it? It's a plant. It's a vine. How about the dragon climbed the vine to find his true love? You want to say that? Yeah. All right, let's say it. Dragon. Let me say it for you. The dragon climbed the vine, the long vine, to find his true love. All right? Amorous is his name.
His true love was a princess, and she was very sad because she also loved him, but she was in a faraway kingdom.
All right. You can put the card down there. All right.
And there was a wolf at the other side.
Oh, the mysterious wolf. I like it.
But the wolf was afraid of the bright, bright sun, so it always hid in the dark.
However, the wolf didn't know that the couple was about to sit down at a glorious feast, and the wolf would have eaten some poison and became no longer a threat. So the amorous couple sat down to eat this magnificent meal, candlelit meal together.
All right, and they got some magical water from the well to make their beautiful meal complete. All right.
I want to do
Both of them? Oh, what are you doing, both sides? You got so much creativity going on. What are you going to do, both sides? One is the heart, right? And then the other side, what's different about the heart on the other side? It has a crack. It's broken. So what do you want to say about the heart? Maybe the dragon is afraid he's going to get his heart broken, but he risked it for love anyway. How about that? Is that good? All right, good job. And we use both sides. Look at there. All right.
The dragon turned into a big,
What is that?
whatever this is. And,
Kids call that Uncle Bob.
okay, he turns into a big Uncle Bob.
There we go. All right.
And stole the wand.
All right. What a story. Can y'all give these folks...
Doesn't every fairy tale need a happy ending?
Sure. What's the happy ending? Let's decide. You got the happy ending?
And then he gave the wand to the princess, and the princess put it back, and then it was a happy ever after.
All right. Good job. So thank you. Oh, you want to say the end? Go.
After ending.
All right. Very good. So thank you for coming down. And what we always want to do here at the UUCC is celebrate creativity and imagination. And so thank you for showing us how to do that today. As we prepare this morning for our Candles of Community, I invite you, if you have a joy or concern to share, to please come down front, briefly share that, and place your candle here so that we can hear.
Good morning. We're Richard and Linda McLeod. And we started out this morning with just one concern, but I received another one while I was here, so bear with me. We're lighting a candle of caring this morning for our dear friend Maureen Stewart and her husband Jim. We met the Stewarts 12 years ago on a cruise and have been great friends ever since. They are Canadian citizens but lived half of each year in Florida. In May 2020, Maureen was diagnosed with ovarian cancer with concern it was also in her stomach. She's fought this disease for the last 3 years and with 3 rounds of chemo and other failed treatments, but was never willing to give up the fight for her life. She has known all along this was terminal, but she continued to give as much of her life as possible. We have learned from her this week that she is now in palliative care and has 4 to 14 months to live. Maureen and Jim will celebrate their 50th wedding anniversary in September. Her goal is to see that day. And then the other one that I just got, and I said I would share, this is from Bill and Bonnie Stronach. I was back and forth with Bill and texting, and I asked him this morning how they were doing. He has now tested positive yesterday for COVID, and Bonnie became sick earlier this week. Bonnie was showing improvement yesterday, but this morning she was much worse. Shortness of breath, oxygen at 89%, pulse at 145. She was transported to the hospital by ambulance earlier. Bill cannot go to the hospital because he is positive for COVID. So we really need to be thinking about Bill and Bonnie.
Good morning, my name is Mark, and I'm lighting a candle to commemorate the future. Next week, we will be having a service for Mother's Day that will really be focusing also on the International Day of Contemplation of Gun Violence. Yesterday to this morning, like many mornings, we've been waking up to even more news of gun violence as we listen to the shooting in the mall in Dallas. Every time there's a gun shooting, I can't help but think of my sister who lost her grandson 8 years ago to gun violence. When I think about that, I can't help but be thinking that those guns come from somewhere. They're manufactured right here in Columbia, where an organization asked for funds from the county to help support the growth of their organization. But we have a council member in our midst that said no. Not only that, but her 4 words of her reasonings why she could not support that resonate with me and continue to since that April 18th meeting when she said no. Not now, not ever. Thank you, Allison. Appreciate you being our council member.
Good morning, my name is Tiffany Rushton, and I'm pleased to say that my daughter Danielle will be graduating middle school on May 25th, and my son Emerson will be graduating high school on June 1st. So those are my joys.
Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Bud Ashley. I want to address the problem that we have as we're coming out of this pandemic. We seem to be going into another one. And it's a mental health crisis that's happening all over the United States. And it's what's contributing to what Mark said, this gun violence. So I just wanted to give you a couple of numbers again. This is the 127th day of this year, and we've had 199 mass shootings. As a matter of fact, there were 23 of them in the last week. Okay, over 425 children have been killed by guns this year. And 8 people died yesterday, as you all know, and 7 more are in the hospital. So I don't think this is as much a problem with guns as it is with mental health. And so I light this candle for all those victims that died because of mental health problems from someone else.
And we always light a candle for those silent joys and concerns. As we've been doing in our service, I invite you to a few moments of breathing in and breathing out all that you've heard, and breathing out peace and love. Our Share of the Plate recipient this month is Planned Parenthood. We've already met Allison Teratio in her role as councilperson, and now I invite her to come and share a little bit as a representative of Planned Parenthood.
Thank you all. I don't stand for the visitor section segment anymore because I feel so at home and welcomed here. I'm also a neighbor down the street on Duncan Street, so you'll probably see me around if you're in the neighborhood too. Yes, I am. My day job is advocacy campaigns manager for Planned Parenthood South Atlantic. And I have a table back there, and I'll be around after the service if anybody wants to come talk to me, because there's a lot to talk about, and I've only got a few minutes here. I do want to extend thanks and gratitude for the continual support of the UU congregation here in Columbia. It does mean a great deal to us and to the people who come to our health center in Columbia for services. Every week. Someone just asked me, were we still here and open and functioning? And the answer is yes. And what I tell people when they ask about, what happens if we absolutely lose abortion access, I tell people that, Planned Parenthood existed before Roe versus Wade. We will continue to exist after Dobbs, right? When I stood before you last year at this time, we had already gotten news of the leaked decision, and so we knew what was coming down the pike. In June, the decision was officially presented, and right away, South Carolina went under a 6-week ban, which meant that almost no one could receive abortion care in the state of South Carolina. So what our health centers did at that time was they took in people who needed care. They checked to see if they could, in fact, provide an abortion. When they determined that they could not, they made arrangements for people to go to North Carolina. Since that day, we know that more and more states have lost access, and we know that more and more people from Tennessee, Georgia, all the other surrounding states are needing to come into South Carolina, North Carolina to receive care. Right now, we know that it's about a 3-week wait. So if you need care here in South Carolina, it's just gonna push you out another 3 weeks, depending on whether, how far along you are when you determined or you found out that you were pregnant and made a decision to do something about it. That may push you into a place where you still have to leave the state in order to receive care. So there's a lot of people who are it's bad. I'm gonna just say it's bad out there. There are a lot of people who are needing to expend a lot more money for travel when they should just be able to get their care here at home. They are having to pay more and more money for more expensive procedures because they've been pushed into later stages. That's just what's going on right now. I will also share that this coming week, We are currently entering into the last week of legislative session at the State House here. I saw so many of you show up last summer to express, to share your voices, to show that this is not what our state needs. And it has been very, very appreciated. This coming week, we'll need to do it again because the House has decided to push through very quickly a 6-week ban. And if you don't know about anything like that, or maybe have forgotten, it's been a while, when you get pregnant, you're already 2 weeks pregnant. And when you find out you miss a period, you're probably 4 weeks pregnant officially, according to the doctor. So you've got about 2 weeks. And guess what? We're already on a 3-week, we're already super behind. So, it's pretty much a ban, right? A 6-week ban is a ban. And of course, the Supreme Court here in South Carolina has had a bit of a change since the decision came out in January, saying that in South Carolina, we do have a right to our privacy in our body. Our state constitution does protect our right to privacy in our own body. So there was a decision against last year's 6-week ban, but the legislature is going to try to push through another one because they just won't stop. So that's really where we are. But I will say our doors are open every day. We're providing long-term reversible contraception. We provide vasectomy services. We provide gender-affirming care. We provide, the full range of contraceptives. We provide STI testing and treatment. And I will also take this opportunity to commend the UU for your OWL program, because now more than ever, realistic, supportive, sexual and reproductive health education is super important. So many people don't know about their bodies. So many people are afraid of talking about relationships in that way, and it is just almost like life or death. If you are not well educated, it could be the difference between your life and something different. So thank you all so much for your support. Again, I'll be back there. I can talk about this all day, so I'll be back in the back with you. If you have questions or want to get involved, I will say thank you for your contributions, and we need you physically present this week. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Allison. This time I invite our ushers to come and receive our morning offering.
Our offertory musical selection is another improvisation that I invite you to participate in called Call of the Blackbird. So on the piano we have white keys and black keys. And if some of you would like to come up and join me at the piano, this is your opportunity to make some music. All you need to do is play black keys along with me, and anything you play on the black keys will fit beautifully into the music. Call of a Blackbird sounds somewhat like this. So if you are a musician or a pianist, you're invited to play. But if you've never played before, I especially invite you to come up and embrace the possibility that today may be the day you become a pianist.
receive our offering today, our commitment to this good work. So we could have continued that as well. So whether it's the fellowship that we want to continue or the music that we want to continue, we can just keep pushing it out. We had plenty of cards down there for the kids too. We could have continued that story. They definitely wanted to do that. So, alas, the sermon though. Sorry. Sorry about that. When I lived in Atlanta, I was invited to participate in a silent retreat at a Buddhist monastery where we basically did everything in silence, eating in silence, spending time together in silence, but also spending time in silence alone. We were invited one day to go out with instructions that we received to go and find a place to sit and be silent. And we had a little notebook, and the instructions were, if a word just happens to come to you, and it's in your brain and you need to get it onto the paper so that it doesn't interrupt your silence, then you can write on the piece of paper. So I was out sitting on a bench, a stone bench, just watching a stream and enjoying the silent experience, and a bird came and was on the ground just in front of me. I don't recognize what kind of bird it is. I'll send you a picture. Carolyn, you can let me know a little bit later. But as I watched the bird, one thing I noticed is the bird constantly was looking behind itself, looking around, would eat something and then pop up and look around. And I began to notice that this bird is terrified, and got inspired. And I thought I should write a poem about this bird and how this poor bird, as beautiful as it is, lives its life in fear and paranoia. Because, you know, what better way to really enjoy a silent retreat than fill your mind with words, right? And so my arrogance, my naive self started trying to pen a poem, and I looked down, I was writing on the paper, and I looked up and the bird was gone. I was like, well, that's a shame. I should have paid attention to it. And now I'm really making a lot of noise. I'm actually talking out loud, which was against the rules. It's like, where did the bird go? And I said, well, I'm going to keep writing anyway because I'm doing this. And as I went to write again, poop fell from the sky. I wish I could make it up, but it's absolutely true, and landed right on the paper. All I can say is, message received. You don't know shit about me is basically what the bird was saying. Scientists believe that a frog's eye is equipped to see 4 different phenomena. It can see clear lines of contrast, sudden changes in illumination, outlines in motion, and curves of outline of small dark objects. 4 things that the brain of a frog constantly receives from the eyes. And so the eyes, like the bird, send messages to the brain purely focused on survival, what to eat and how to avoid being eaten. And you know, it's easy for us as humans to believe that the way we see the world is the way it is. That we look at these animals and we think, man, they just are surviving. They live with survival. They have such a limited scope of the world. But the way our eyes see the world, we see everything. When we know our eyes aren't capable of seeing everything, we know that bees leave an ultraviolet light patterns on flowers that we can't see, but other bees follow it. We know that owls see very clearly in the dark, something that we can't do, even if our eyes can adjust to somewhat to darkness. And so we have to come to the realization that for us as human beings, our eyes map out a world of survival as well. Maybe it's a little bit more complex, but it's still limited in mapping out purely survival. And we have to be reminded that maybe the way we see the world is not the way the world is. Someone asked Picasso on a city bus once, who happened to be there with him, why, Pablo, Why do you paint humans the way you do? Why don't you paint them the way they really are? To which Picasso replied, well, how are they? And the person reached in his wallet and took out a photo of his wife and said, like this. To which Picasso replied, well, she's rather small and flat. Reminding us that we've trained our mind to associate that picture, and it gets even more complicated with cell phones and selfies, but we've trained our mind to believe that picture actually represents and is a good representation of a real human being when we know it's two-dimensional and it has its limitations. We map out a world for survival. In that way, we are very much like the bird, like the frog. And how easy is it to be like the bird and the frog, completely hyper-focused on survival? We've already talked today in our candle time about the danger of our culture. Walking into a mall, we have to be hyper-focused on survival. Do you find yourself in a public place, maybe even this public place, looking around and wondering, am I going to survive this event? Maybe some are thinking, is this event ever going to end? But most, when am I going to survive this event? We live with that thought. Children go to schools with that in the back of their minds and sometimes in the forefront of their minds. We map out our world for survival. We oftentimes are just figuring out how to survive the day in our personal lives, how to survive the next meeting. If I can just make it to the end of this workday and get home, then I will be okay. Or how can I survive the next project that I'm going to do? We hear young people all the time, and I say young people in their 40s because I get to barely include myself in that and say young people. But I hear young people all the time saying, I'm just here trying to make it to retirement. In your 40s, really? We're just trying to survive our lives. How do I find meaning in our lives and make sure that we are living meaningful lives? Survival is all about scarcity thinking. Not so much scarcity, but the thinking of scarcity and the fear involved in it. As a matter of fact, churches' eyes can become hyper-focused on survival as well. We think about how long is the UUCC gonna last in its current condition? Make it sound so horrible sometimes. Are we going to survive? How long will we be here? When the question we should be asking is, how do we maintain this as a place that is meaningful and a place where we make meaning in our lives, making a transformative difference in our culture? In the Broadway play, Be More Chill, which was a small off-Broadway play based on a novel by Ned Vicini, the main character, Jeremy, is in high school, and he has an entire song about how he is never going to be anything more than able to survive high school. And we all probably felt in that way oftentimes in our lives. And his main song toward the end of the play, he says, I'm never gonna be the cool guy. I'm more the one who's left out. Of all the characters at school, I'm not the one who the story is about. Why can't someone just help me out and teach me how to thrive and help me to more than survive? Do you hear those words? Help me more than survive. Because when we are focused purely on survival and have no meaning in our lives, we let ambivalence, despair, and apathy creep in. Ambivalence being mixed feelings and using contradictory feelings or reactions. We get stuck in paradigms of good and bad, and we live out of fear and disconnect and avoid investment, and we're purely focused on survival. When we do that, despair can easily creep in. It would be easy for a group like Planned Parenthood and the challenges they faced over the last year. How easy is it for despair to creep in? We are focused on survival, and we live with an awareness that we are finite creatures. So think about that in our lives. We pour all our energy into survival, whether it's the latest diet, the latest exercise, or article I read this week that says, if you exercise, it will cause you to lose nutrients that you need to survive. I don't know what I should do. Somebody tell me. I'm chewing on a multivitamin while I walk in the neighborhood. I'm trying to figure out how to survive when I live with an awareness that there's absolutely no way I'm going to survive. None. Not a chance. So we live in this place of ambivalence, and then can often lead to despair. And of course, when that happens, apathy can creep in. Apathy is so dangerous. We know that hate is not the opposite of love. Apathy is. The lack of feeling, the lack of caring. It's the ultimate and irresistible resting place of a life that's purely focused on survival, whether it's a personal life or the life of a congregation. We should be asking the question and the request, teach me how to thrive, how to more than survive. The book that I'm using today for a part of our sermon is a book entitled The Art of Possibility by Ros Zander and Ben Zander. Blending their lessons together from her life as a therapist and his life as a music teacher and orchestra conductor, they have 12 practices here to invite possibility into our lives. 12 practices. So I figured out that I could go through all 12 practices, and that takes about 5 minutes each with each practice. So 5 times 12, carry the 1. I can do that in 10 minutes according to my math. Is that right, Mark? Not the best with math. Maybe I didn't carry the 1 correctly, I don't know. I'm kidding. Some of you are heading for the door as we speak. I will invite you to dive into these 12 practices, but I'm just going to give you just a few of my takeaways from these practices and focus on some of the things that the Zanders, Ben and Ros Zander, invite us to. They invite us to live in a universe of possibility and creativity that transcends the invented, measured world we impose on ourselves. The measurements of winning and losing, the gaining of acceptance or the threat of rejection, bouncing between hope and despair, living with this narrow mindset keeps the universe of possibility and creativity out of our view. So choose to step out of that downward spiral of constantly measuring and imposing that on ourselves and step into the world of openness, where even our mistakes become fascinating events that teach us and shape our lives. How are my thoughts and actions reflecting on survival and scarcity is another practice to ask yourself daily, how are my thoughts and actions reflecting survival and scarcity, comparison and competition, attachment and anxiety? Notice the question is not, do my thoughts reflect them? Because that's inevitable. So to ask yourself, how are my thoughts getting wrapped up in comparison, competition? You know, we do that all the time, right? We sit here in this place, as Ben Zander says, looks around and says, well, I'm better than him. Oh, she's better than me. Well, I'm getting close to being as good as that person. We live in that place of comparison and competition all the time. So to identify when our mind is diving into that because it is futile to try to escape those assumptions, and when we question ourselves and get clear and aware of where we're diving into them, we find freedom and step into the universe of possibility. Another practice is being a contribution. Being a contribution, not what do I contribute, but being yourself a contribution. Because we live our lives judged by the two-headed coin of success or failure. If we become too focused on success, we find ourselves compromising our values, our ethics, and the way we make meaning. If we ignore the drive for success and celebrate failure, we miss out on opportunities for improvement and becoming the best version of ourselves. The key in our thinking is to declare ourselves a contribution. so that when we feel the judgment of I am a success or the judgment or of I am a failure, to just identify yourself as I am a contribution. I am someone who makes a difference, even if I don't understand why or how, and even if I get judged a success or a failure. Companies do this by focusing on mission versus vision, where mission is about survival, vision is about what we contribute to our world. Maybe some timely words for us as a congregation as we think about long-range planning to distinguish what our mission is about survival versus what our vision is about how we make a difference in our world. And the last one I'll share briefly is they invite us to tell the we story, because we often tell our history and report our news as a conflict between us and them. So I just wanted to share briefly their words about telling the we story. To begin the inquiry, we have extinguished a new entity that personifies the togetherness of you and me and others. This entity, the we, can be found among any two people in any community or organization, and it can be thought of as poetic terms as a melody running through the people of the earth. It emerges in the way music emerges from individual notes when a phrase is played as one long line, in the way a landscape coalesces out of the multicolored strokes of an impressionist painting when you get some distance, and in the way a family comes into being when a first child is born. The we appears when, for the moment, we set aside the story of fear, competition, and struggle and tell our story, the story of we. Telling the story that connects us all and looking for places of connection and asking together any crisis that we face, how do we solve it together? Obviously, we want to have hope in our future. We want to place hope in something of possibility out there. We want possibility to beckon us forward. But really, possibility and creativity demands us be in the present moment. I'll end with words from Thich Nhat Hanh. And I know I read Thich Nhat Hanh a lot, but there are worse problems to have out of your minister. I promise. Thich Nhat Hanh has an essay about hope being an obstacle. When our spirituality and meaning is purely placed in hope, we focus ourselves on waiting for something to happen instead of engaging the present moment and letting our creativity and possibility emerge. So the question is, how do we more than survive our lives? And for us here at the UCC, how do we more than survive as a congregation? We must fully engage our present and accept the invitation from the universe of possibility. Open ourselves to the creativity spark within each of us that is as potent, as powerful as the chalice flame that reflects the image of who we are. May we let that spark teach us how to thrive and help us to more than survive.
I invite you to join in singing our closing hymn, number 6, Just as Long as I Have Breath. Please stand as you're willing and able.
Just as long as I have breath, I must answer yes to life. Though with pain I made my way, still with hope I meet each day. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to
remain standing. Thich Nhat Hanh from his words, from hope is an obstacle. Since we cling to our hope in the future, we do not focus our energies and capabilities in the present moment. We use hope to believe something better will happen in the future, that we will arrive at peace or the kingdom of God. So hope becomes a kind of obstacle. If you can refrain from hoping, you can bring yourself entirely into the present moment and discover that joy is already there. Enlightenment, peace, and joy will not be granted by someone else. The well is within us, and if we dig deeply in the present moment, the water will spring forth.
Please join in singing our congregational benediction.
May the blessings of truth be upon us. May the power of love direct us. And may the peace of this community sustain us till we meet again.
I'd like to thank everyone for being here today. If you want to gather on the carpet up here after the service and play the fairy tale game, I've got one more crawling down onto the floor left in me. So to do that, I'm sure Anna might enjoy a little bit more of the Blackbird playing a piano as well. Of course, Allison is going to be in the back, but mainly we want you to stick around, especially if you're a visitor here today. Stick around and spend some time getting to know us as we get to know you. Thank you all for being a part of this service.